to how software testing was viewed a few years back, right? We used to have development completed and then moving over in a waterfall approach into testing, and then, we used to move forward. But then increasingly we realized that the later you found bugs and the later you found issues and defects, the more costly, the more difficult it was to fix them, right? So I think governance is going in a similar kind of fashion now, where we're finding that it's too late, as an afterthought to, once processes are completed, delivery models are built, to then put governance on top of that. We have to think about governance as embedded and as part of the way. It's just how we do things, right? So every process, every business function, every data function has to have an element of governance and element of control built within the function itself, rather than separately, because the expectation from the regulators as well as our customers is nothing less than that. Or they want to see not just how we are responding to incidents and events, but what are we doing to actually prevent them from occurring in the first place. And that can only happen when governance becomes a way of doing things. It becomes embedded into the culture itself, into our DNA. And we think of risk and we think of governance when we're thinking of driving a new process or a new product or a new outcome. And it's just a part of how we do business.
And in the whole new governance model, how do you see the ownership of business data, customer data residing? And do you think that's the right approach to basically make business accountable for the data they are more responsible for? They use while applying the common governance standards that the data governance team will be establishing.
Yeah, I think it has to be. It has to be, Sumitra. I'm sure you'll agree that, when you see a separation between the collection and use of data from the responsibilities around ownership and governance, then it just doesn't work. It's like you can have one small team somewhere accountable for driving a certain outcome, and not having any authority to control what's happening up front around that function, and it's never going to work. So it's the same with data governance. It's the same around security. Unless the business leaders, unless the business teams are educated and are aware, and the ownership resides within that business domain or the business area, which is actually making the decisions on what to do. It's no different to what we were just discussing on the last question, right? It's you got to build governance into your processes and what you're doing, and then that'll only come with ownership, right? So if you feel that you own the governance, you own the data security, you are accountable for that, then you'll make different decisions, or you'll make better decisions for the organization, because you will not just think about the business outcomes in terms of financial outcomes or sales, etc. You will also think in terms of the risks and the threats that come along with that, and you'll make more balanced decisions. So I think it's important to have that ownership reside within the business, where it drives the right thinking, it drives the right behaviors, it drives the right outcomes, and it just becomes a way of governance, and just becomes a way of thinking, and it helps to drive the right culture, all of those things that we've been discussing. And that can't happen if there's separation between who's actually driving the function versus who's accountable for governance around that. It has to go hand in hand.
Yeah. We discussed about the culture, and the other important point I wanted to unpack with you was about the skill, the talent within the data function.